Check one. Check one.
Check Ghoul, check Ghoul. Check three, check three. That second quarter, I mean, that's the one thing.
Yeah.
Broadcasting live from WOYK's downtown York studios at Santander Stadium. This is York's local sports show, talking local sports on York's local sports station. Welcome to Game Day with GameTimePA on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
And welcome to another edition of Game Day with GameTimePA. I'm Steve Navaroli alongside Matt Ghoul's in the house. Say hi, Ghoul.
Oh, hello, Steve.
Well
hello,
done.
everyone who listens.
Well done. We also got the Berg boys, Brandon Stogberg, Teddy Feinberg. Fellas, what's happening?
Not much. Good to be back.
I'm thrilled to be here.
As you are every week. And Brandon, yes, you did have a couple-week hiatus, so welcome back. And
thank you.
Hard to believe, last show we've been doing this every Thursday since late August, with the exception of Thanksgiving, but this is the last one for the year.
It is?
Well, yeah, the holidays are Christmas Day and New Year's Day, which are both on Thursdays.
So you're not coming back next week?
I'm going to say no. I'm going to go out on a limb and say no, I will not be here.
I'll just say cock-a-doodle-doo, Matt.
Yeah, yes. Well, welcome to it. So, anyhow, folks, you're listening to us on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. We are also available on GameTimePA.com/GameDay, and that is a live stream that you can not only listen to the fun and frivolity, you can watch it as well. I don't know if that's good or bad, but welcome to it, please. You also have the options of the 1350.com, WOYK.com, and the WOYK mobile app. A lot of ways you can listen to the sounds of our show. We hope you enjoy it. If it's your first time, welcome aboard. And again, we hope you enjoy. We're here till 6 o'clock, and to get going, let's give out some game balls. Brandon, go ahead and get it started.
This one's a kind of a layup, but I'm going down the Hanover area. I'm going Dylan Krieger. Thanks to Matt Ghoul's stats, I know he averages 26.2 points a game. He's got that Hanover offense clicking. They're one of the only undefeated teams left in the league. I got to see him play twice. I was very impressed with how smooth he is. He's very aggressive so far this year, and And he's got the team. Yeah, they're 5-0. They look good so far. So I'm going Dylan Krieger on that one.
Is that pun intended on going with a layup?
yeah, I tried that. But he's having a good start. He looks smooth. He's scoring from inside. He's scoring from outside. Their starting lineup looks really solid overall so far.
What do you think, Matt? What do you got?
I am going with somebody who I have not seen yet, well, at least since last season. That is Carrie Langford of the West York Bulldogs. Carrie scored her 1,000th career point on Monday evening in a win against Trinity. West York on the girls' side also unbeaten right now. And it's kind of interesting. Carrie actually fell awkwardly on her hand, played through it. She did not play the following night against Susquehannock, but the Bulldogs got some big games coming up. They've got York Suburban on Friday night. That'll be for the Division II lead in the York Adams League. And then a game I'm looking forward to that I'll be at next Tuesday, which is West York playing host to Northeastern. So congratulations again to Carrie Langford on getting her 1,000.
And we're going to be talking more about some of that Division II race when we talk about girls hoops, and certainly that was something we saw coming. She's a tough kid. I mean, she'll be ready to go for that when that gets hot and heavy in the division.
As Teddy likes to say, scrap iron.
She is scrap iron.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you.
No doubt about that. Ted Man, give me your pick.
I'm going to go in a similar vein as Matt, but it's going to be on the boys' side. Ryan Beck, Dover player, just hit his 1,000-point career mark. Obviously, an elite scorer. And he also backed that up this week. He dropped 24. He went 10 of 10 from the line against Gettysburg, which was impressive. And then he scored 26 the following game. So he obviously enjoys scoring the basketball. He does it well. He continued doing it this week, and I expect him to continue doing it all year. He gets my game ball.
Yeah, that's a solid pick, and probably not the only time he's going to get picked this year.
Second leading scorer, I believe, right now, and the leading scorer last season from Dover.
And he's putting up these big numbers, and they're playing 4 games in 5 days right now, and he's still putting up 24 or 26 this week.
Yeah, and they face some pretty good competition. So now I'm going to go kind of off the map, if you will, for my pick, and that's not a reference to Fawn Grove, but that is where I was, and that's where I got my pick of the week for my game balls. I'm giving out a pair of them. The Freeze siblings of Kennerdale High School. It was great. I was down there on Saturday for a doubleheader. Adam Freeze, only a freshman, puts in 16, 8 for 8 from the line, and the Rams beat Bermudian Springs. And then moments later, his older sister, Emily, who's a junior, she drops 19, and the Rams girls beat Bermudian, and she was 7 of 8 from the line. So I said that, the neat thing was, they were combined 15 to 16. Their coach's kids. Their dad is Greg Freeze, and Greg was a former boys head coach. He's now an assistant on the girls staff, and they play like coaches. It was great. I got a chance to I've talked to Greg before. I got a chance to talk to him in depth, and I talked to their mom. It made for a lot of fun. When you're going to go to Fawn Grove, you might as well have fun doing it.
Another set of siblings at Kennerdale. Last year they had Caitlin and Ryan Trott. Of course, Ryan is still in school and playing on that boys team, and now the Freezes. So.
Exactly. And then we're going to talk more about Kennerdale in the segments coming up in that. So, really interesting. And before we do our local athletes of the week, Teddy, I'm going to hand it over to you because you have our announcements of the area's athletes of the year per the voting.
Absolute fall athletes of the year. Game Time 2 crew did a great job on this. Matt and Steve included, Brandon included. We have Franklin Fulton. We have Shamar Pates of James Buchanan High School. We also have Bronwyn Malat. Yes, I got the pronunciation right. I spoke to Ed Gottwalls, and he gave me the correct pronunciation. And I'm glad I did because I would have butchered it.
Ed Gottwalls of the Chambersburg Public Opinion.
Thank you, Matt. And she's of McConnellsburg Tennis. And then we have Lancaster Lebanon, Evan Horn of Cedar Crest Football, Kirsten West of Palmyra Volleyball, and of course in our own backyard, Addison Quinones Dallastown Football. I know we were a big fan of his this year, and Abigail Bentz, Susquehannock Volleyball. They got our fall athletes of the year. It was a GameTimePA vote on our GameTime Facebook page, and I think it went smashingly well.
Very good.
Evan Horn, he could end up getting it again in the winter for the basketball team.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, it's kind of neat. It's funny to see that, and you think, and these are picked from our athletes of the week. They go into a pool, and then just like they are picked, per the voting and that. So it's kind of cool to see the kids get some support. I was glad to see Addison get that kind of support because sometimes I don't know that they necessarily. Dallastown is such a big school in that, but if you look at the athletes of the week, sometimes you don't necessarily see as many Dallastown kids. I think it's just because there's so much activity in such a big school, and to see him get a good reward, I think was pretty good. So, athletes of the week. This is one I think is going to win this more than once this year. Ashley Stone, Susquehannock basketball, and she's the only returning starter from that Big Five of a year ago that went to 2 straight district title games, and she helped the team split a pair in the Elizabeth Tip-Off tournament. Elizabeth Town. Did I say Elizabeth?
Yeah, the Elizabeth.
Wow, Matt correcting me on a local school.
That's right, Steve.
I'm proud of you, Matt. Well done. So, against Donegal, she has 18 points, 10 of which were in the fourth quarter, and Susquehannock won, and then had 13 the next day in a loss to a very good Warwick team. She garnered 53.9% of the vote. That's pretty dominating at the polls, if you will. So, now, here's somebody, we'll probably say this name a bunch this year, too. Eli Brooks.
Yeah, he's had a great start to the year. I got to see him twice, and he's another smooth scorer. He just makes it look easy. He gets to the line very well. Great outside shot. He runs the floor, and I've seen him play Southwestern William Penn, and even though he's a sophomore, he's not intimidated by anybody he goes up against. He played the Bearcats, punch for punch, and through that entire game. They led until the last, 3 minutes. He's very impressed with this young guy. Him and Darren Gordon have scored 80-90% of Spring Grove's points so far this season.
I think that's the game that's going to give them sustained confidence this season that they did not have last year, because they've got that 1-2 punch with Brooks and Darren Gordon.
Now, he really never played like a freshman as a freshman, did he?
No, but he came off the bench a lot. I think it was partly because he was a freshman and the coach's son. So I know Coach Brooks kind of handled that a certain way last year. And I think now that it's, to pardon the phrase, I think the kid gloves are off a little bit. So now I think you're getting a sense with this team coming of age a little bit.
Well, and he got 40% of the votes. And the thing that is, he had plus 20 in all 3 games, 24, 20 with 7 rebounds, and another 22. The Rockets are 2-2. Are they 3-2 now?
They're up to 3-2 now.
Yeah, they're up to 3-2 now. So and they're a player in that division as well. So with that, we're going to go to our first break of the day. When we come back, let's talk some boys hoops. What do you think, Matt? You ready?
I'm ready.
All right.
I hope you are too.
Oh, I'm ready.
I wasn't talking to you, Steve. I was talking to the listeners.
Okay. Sorry. Folks, be ready. We'll be back after this. You're listening to Game Day with GameTimePA here on Sports Radio 1350.
Get ready for winter now and save big on your heating oil or propane costs. Call today to schedule your first fill, and don't forget to ask our energy advisors about the right money-saving plan or budget to fit your lifestyle. Lock in your rate and protect your price all winter. Our price-protected customers save an average of $325 per year. Visit ShipleyEnergy.com or call 855-4SHIPLEY to schedule your next heating oil or propane delivery. Shipley Energy, energy for life.
You waited until the last minute to do your holiday shopping again? Well, it's never too late to thrill the Revolution fan in your life, or too early to start thinking baseball. The Apple Chevrolet ticket office at Santander Stadium will be open 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. this Saturday. Clear out one last space under that tree for a Revolution holiday pack, which includes 4 tickets, 4 food vouchers, and a 2015 Revolution wall calendar for just $59. Don't forget, a Revolution gift card makes a great stocking stuffer or office gift.
Revolution! Looking for something cool to do this weekend? Looking for a different kind of family fun? Come to the coolest place in town, York Ice Arena. Get on the ice with your friends for Rock and Skate. The last Friday of each month. Every Wednesday is family night with free skate rentals for the whole family. And remember, the coolest place in town is also available for the coolest birthday party in town. For party package prices and public skating times, check out YorkSkate.com. Want to learn to skate? Want to suit up and learn how to play some hockey? Come to the coolest place in town, York Ice Arena. Learn to skate programs are now available for all ages, for every skating ability. Class levels range from beginner to freestyle, where you'll learn basic jumps, spins, and footwork. And skating rental is included. Or get on the ice for York Ice Arena hockey programs. Taught by Ice Arena coaches, boys and girls can learn proper techniques for the game. Rental equipment is available. Group skating lessons and beginner hockey programs are forming now. Plus, York City residents get a 50% discount. Register today. Go to YorkSkate.com.
The Central Panthers break the 40-year drought and win the York Adams League Boys Basketball Championship. Last February, Central defeated William Penn for the league title. Now the rematch. I'm Ron Ruman. Andy Bria and I will be there for the first meeting between the Panthers and Bearcats since the league championship. York High went on to win the district title last season, and both squads have high hopes again this year. Don't miss it. Central and William Penn, Friday at 7 on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK and GameTimePA.com.
Putting a winning team on the field starts with a good manager. Murray Securus believes the same is true when it comes to all-star health benefits. And Murray Securus Choice Benefits Marketplace just made managing that call a whole lot easier. Employers can now offer a comprehensive benefits program that controls costs and gives employees the education and resources to be active in managing their health care. Designed for employer groups of 20 or more, Choice Benefits Marketplace gives your employees the power of choice and simplifies benefits administration for employers. Contact Murray Securus or go to choicebenefitsmarketplace.com.
Hi, this is Dan Patrick. Join me weekday mornings at 9 on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
GameDay with GameTimePA. Thanks for the prop there and the eye roll, Daryl Henry. Well done by you. It's great, always great to have DH in here with us. But speaking of great, or how about not so great, Matt, are you going to be a jinx for teams that you put in your top 5 this year?
What are you talking about, Steve?
A couple of your top 5s struggled in the early season. No, maybe not. Maybe struggle's the wrong word. I think scheduling might have had more to do with it.
I think struggling is a bit of a harsh word because I was almost purposely looking to shake it up a little bit, and Northeastern being the only unbeaten of the bigger schools left, I think it was logical to push them up to the top spot in our power rankings. William Penn, which was the number 1 team. Honestly, my prediction is they will be back there shortly. Mm-hmm. It might be not until after the new year because they've got quite the doubleheader coming up this weekend. They have Central York at home on Friday night, a rematch of last season's York-Adams championship game, and then Chester, the winningest as far as state titles go in Pennsylvania history. That program will be heading to York on Saturday evening. So 2 tough games for the Bearcats coming up.
Monumental tasks. I mean, really, especially that Chester game and that. Are you planning to be there for
I
that?
will be there for both games, so you can follow me on Twitter for all updates. I'll have stories in the York Daily Record, the Sunday News. They'll be on GameTimePA.com, along with plenty of video highlights and interviews via that route as well. But just to go down the rest of the power rankings, Central York, the number 2 team, dropped a little bit. They actually dropped to 4. The reason why was Red Lion had beat them in a head-to-head matchup. So because of that, Red Lion gets a little bit of a credence there to move up to the 3 spot.
You know, the Red Lion is kind of an intriguing team because they are good defensively.
They're an ugly team. And I mean this in the nicest way possible because they like to play ugly.
Can you make the word ugly look nice?
Well, you know what? When I start with saying they're good defensively, that leads a little bit to what you're saying, the ugliness in that they are that kind of team.
There's nothing wrong with mucking it up.
No.
I mean, that's a style, and if you win, more power to you.
Well, I mean, it started with again season opener against a Daniel Boone team that, of course, has been hit hard by not just graduation but kids moving out of that school. But I mean, you look at Northeastern. Actually, I had this conversation with Elijah Cooper and Anthony Morgan, two names you might remember.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony being from New Hope Academy from a few years ago, and Elijah, a Northeastern graduate. And I noticed that Northeastern defensively has looked pretty good.
Oh yeah,
numbers-wise. And we were discussing that, and I think Anthony Morgan pointed out that, hey, maybe it's the schedule. And I said, you know what? I think part of the reason is playing like a team like Red Lion. Red Lion likes to, as Teddy said, muck up. They like to get in that defensive struggle, which kind of factored in that game being a close game, the second game into the season. So, and you look at Red Lion, what they did with Central. 42-35 was the final score of that one, and I was considering giving a game ball to Jason Rebuck because I saw Charlie Gingrich had just 4 points in that game.
Think about that.
Jason had 7, but those two, they know each other quite well. Had former AAU teammates until a couple seasons ago, and that's quite the accomplishment for Jason, I think, to be able to do that against his buddy.
In your opinion, though, isn't that the typical score that Red Lion's going to win by?
It is, you know, and they their last game of the season against Carlisle last year in the district tournament was in a similar fashion. You know, they're not going to get into an up and down game. So I'll be interested to see what happens when they play York High on Tuesday next week as well.
Here's what really impresses me about that, though, the win over Central. Yet Rebuck only scores 7. because when they lost,
But that 7's the difference. They win by 7.
right? Well, that's true. But typically, you would think they're going to count on him for 12 or 14. However, he can score 7 and still be an unbelievably effective player. As you're pointing out, with you were considering giving him your game ball, and he only scored 7 points. That tells you something. And he is tough down low. He's a great rebounder. He's a much bigger rebounder than he looks at 6'2".
Yeah, and Gingrich is probably as premier of a rebounder as it comes in York County. I mean, I saw him against Cedar Crest where he had to play against 2'6". Andrew Eberhardt 6'6", and his backup is 6'3", but is quite the leaper, can dunk. And Charlie had to face those two guys all night and had 18 boards in that game. That was about a week and a half ago.
Yeah, so I mean that tells you, and it's funny because they actually do a great job holding Northeastern in check for 3 quarters, but they just could not hit a basket. And when Redline couldn't hit a basket, Northeastern had a lot of long rebounds in transition, and boy, that just plays right into their strengths.
And also, if you're from Central, it's no time to push the panic button. As Steve Schmel, the Redline coach, pointed out, that game last Friday night, I think it was Central's 3rd or 4th in 5 days, and that when you have those types of situations, it keeps you from getting back in the gym and working on things. So I'll be interested to see how the Panthers respond tomorrow.
Good point, and Brandon. So your alma mater, they'll be all right.
They'll bounce back. The record doesn't look too good this year, but like you said, it's been a tough schedule. It's been a very packed schedule. I mean, every team right now, I think, as Gatesburg's coach Jeff Bear called it an NBA schedule, what they feel like they're on right now. A lot of teams playing 3 games in 4 days or 4 games in 5 days. Central's no different, but they've had a tough schedule and they'll bounce back.
The thing with Central that surprised me is how Jared Wagner's roles changed so far. I mean, he came in last year as that spurt off the bench,
right.
That spark plug, and I was anticipating him being more of a defensive stalwart. And he actually, when I've seen him, he had probably about 4 or 5 steals. He had a nice impact on that side of the ball, but he's their leading scorer right now, averaging about 11.5 a game, and that's something I didn't really expect.
Well, not with the team with Sam Saxton on it, and but that don't you think that changes as the season goes on?
I see Sam deferring a lot when I saw him, so I think he's trying to get more guys involved. It'll be interesting. I think this team is still kind of trying to find its footing, just in the slightest way. So it'll be fun to see how that team develops, because I thought the biggest question was going to be, now that Jared moves up into the starting lineup, who takes his role as that sixth man, that defensive bull on the perimeter? I mean, it could be Calvin Luckenbaugh, the soccer player, who's kind of like, his career right now is kind of mimicking Royce Clemens's from last season, and he's similar build. So that could be what we'll see going forward. That's if I had to make a prediction, that would be it.
My only question on them would be, their depth change from last year, because they were actually a very deep team running off that 14-0 run, last year and league record. And, I guess those are roles that they'll find. But you know what? It's December.
Sheeler is going to that type of depth so far. I've seen him. He's going that deep in the lineup sometimes. So I think it's just a matter of those guys getting some more game experience, especially Griffin Harder, who has to come in basically for Charlie. Gingrich in the post, and that's one that's I'm going to be interested to see how that develops too.
And good point there. And again, what they're doing in December is absolutely no reflection on late January and February, which I'm sure every coach out there would
we know
say.
You were really low on William Penn last year when they struggled around December and January, and they ended up winning a district title. So
absolutely,
maybe we see the same thing from a Central team this year.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's the fun of hoops.
I was just going to make some wisecrack comment on Matt calling you out again, but I won't do it anymore.
Well, that's okay. He does this all the time. Teddy, you're in the office with us.
I think I have a per segment quota on that.
I believe Matt does.
You're hitting the quota well. Yeah. Good job, Matt.
Thanks.
He is. Well, okay, now I'm going to digress here. Bear with me, folks. The weeks that I'm covering swimming and won't be in the booth here, who are you going to drill then?
If Brandon's here, or Teddy, I guess.
We'll be doing what have you learned at 4:50 p.m. sharp. So get.
Well, I don't know about that, but
I might have to go drain the pool.
Yeah. So, well, that's pretty interesting. Now, Brandon.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about Hanover.
They look. What I was impressed with about them is they have 5 solid starters. Their depth is kind of a concern, early on. But what Coach Myers was worried about before the season started was guard play. Losing Nick Trish, who do you have to pick up? And every time I talked to him, the AD, and the team down there, they kept saying the name Will McQueen. And from what I had seen from him last year, I was like, okay, well, I saw his numbers last year. Let me see, this year. He's just smooth. He doesn't get too hot, too cold. He's very steady, very solid. He runs the offense. He's not going to turn the ball over. He's not going to, you start gunning like not a Nick Young type player. So he's a steady one. Crowd is a streaky shooter. When he gets hot, is really good for the offense. Balserman has come in that 3 spot and been the glue guy, as Coach Myers called him, and he's fighting for. He might be my favorite player on the team because he fights for every loose ball. He's the hustle guy. He might shoot 2 or 3 times a night, but he's guarding the other team's best player, and he's getting every loose ball. And then you got Krieger, who's going to put up 28, and you got Rhodes, man in the paint, averaging a couple blocks a night. They're just solid all around. There's not a weak spot really in that starting 5, and they'll just run you to death. They have a track meet style offense, and before I could write down who scored, they're scoring again half the time.
So I need to be warned because I'm actually covering them at York Catholic Friday night, so I better be ready.
Yeah, be ready to see that up and down offense. But yeah, their guard play looks solid. They look solid down low. They got great coaching. They look good so far. And at first they said they had a couple of easy games. Looked like early in the schedule. They played Littlestown twice already. They've had York Tech already. West Perry isn't a great competitor. It's an easy schedule. It gets a little bit tougher for them coming up, so maybe they can prove something, especially Friday night when you'll be there against York Catholic.
Yeah, and that'll be an interesting one, and I think that's kind of a game that the Irish are going to learn from. I just fumbled the football.
Just dropped the ball, Steve.
Yep, I did. So anyhow, thank you, Daryl. Yep. Oh, Matt kept it. So but York Catholic now, they're still learning their way, and under first-year coach Ryan Luckman. Now, of course, Luckman has a lot of coaching experience. Great job with the girls soccer program at York Catholic. Coach basketball at Spring Grove.
He knows that program well at York Catholic.
Exactly.
Being a former player there, that's the key spot.
And he's a teacher there, and he's in the hallways with the kids. And I look for good things to develop out of it. I think this will be a little bit of a developmental year for them in that, and I think they're going to get things figured out sooner rather than later, but they might take some lumps early.
Well, it helps that they have a young man in Paul Martello to lean on for the scoring punch. Andrew Forgen, of course, sophomore, probably like the smallest player on the court, but he's one of the quickest and one of the stingiest ones. So we'll be interested to see how that team develops. Size is a concern because, and that's the advantage that Hanover has on practically every Division III team. They don't have somebody with the size and athleticism to match up with Dylan Krieger.
That probably can extend all the way through AA. I mean, to a degree, don't you think?
I think so. I mean, I'll be interested to see if once they get to the districts, Camp Hill's a team early on that's really striking me. Of course, you wonder about Trinity and teams like that, but especially Camp Hill.
They have Trinity, I think, this Saturday night. They have a game against Trinity at home, so that'll be another. They get York Catholic Friday and then Trinity Saturday night. You
know what? Now there's a weekend that a team like that can definitely learn from. I mean, you got to give them the edge with York Catholic, but now they've got to rebound and play Trinity. So I think that there's some really great tests for Hanover to go into the holidays with.
Yeah, and then when we put up the Hanover power rankings, we said that'll be the easy schedule talk can kind of go out the window after this week. And if they're 7-0, we can call them a little bit more legitimate than some people are giving them credit for. But if they lose one, like you said, they can learn from it, and it'll be a good gauge to see how really good they are, how good they really are.
Before we go to break, Matt, Brandon mentioned Will McQueen, right? It's kind of he's running the offense and that, and it sounds like he's kind of a guy very steady in that. Probably doesn't care if he scores and that. As a basketball geek, how much do you view that as such an invaluable player who doesn't care if they score?
It's a tremendous asset. It has to be. I mean, how many times I've had a couple of not necessarily coaches, but observers I kind of trust their opinion about. Mention notice in some teams saying, quote, I see too many guys on the court that want to get their shots in, and when you got somebody who doesn't have that mindset, it just makes life flow on the basketball court that much easier. I mean, we're seeing it even in the NBA. Talking about the Golden State Warriors, you got 6 guys with a pass-first mentality, and look at them. They got the best record in the league.
Ben Wallace. Love Ben Wallace.
Ben Wallace.
What does Ben Wallace have to do with anything?
Well, he could affect a game dramatically without scoring a single point. And I just feel like those players are invaluable.
But Will McQueen's a guard.
Now I'm getting the Navaroli treatment.
Exactly.
This is unbelievable.
I know your point, though, Ted, because, as a former Lakers fan way back in the day, Kurt Rambis was that guy. So, he could never score a point and had a huge impact on the team. Although, Matt's point, yes, it's a guard. And you do like that from the point, though. I see exactly what you mean there. So, well, folks, we're going to come back. We're going to bring it back local after the break. So don't worry, we're not going to go on NBA talk, although I'm sure Matt would like that as well. So stay tuned. You're listening to Game Day with GameTimePA here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Hey athletes, does the winter weather dampen your sports training? It doesn't have to. Take your game inside at Backyard University, York's spectacular indoor sports training facility, right at home in your backyard. Located inside Fairmont Gym at 201 South Charles Street in Red Lion, Backyard University is a beautiful, state-of-the-art indoor complex for all of your sport needs. Featuring a complete baseball and softball training complex with batting cages, pitching tunnels, and a turf field for the entire team, Backyard hosts camps, clinics, and competitive youth travel teams to play in the region's top tournaments. Join York Revolution greats Jason Espito, Daryl Harang, and Corey Thurman for one-on-one training. And take your speed and agility to a whole new level with professional trainer David Brixius from Explosive Sports Performance. Play your game year-round at Backyard University, right at home in your backyard. Visit online at backyard-university.com.
Pretty soon your family will be itching to break out of the cabin you've been cooped up in all winter. Let the kids loose and get your caboose to Festive Ice, York's first winter ice festival, presented by York Traditions Bank on January 16th and 17th at Santander Stadium. Food trucks, music, laser tag giveaways, and guys chiseling Yetis out of ice with chainsaws. And there's more. As a bonus, tickets get you in both days and are only $3 for kids 12 and under, $6 for ages 13 and up, and free for tykes 3 and under. Festivites.com.
Hi, I'm Daryl Henry. Join Scott Geis and me every Monday at 4 for your College Spartan Sports Weekly, right here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. Each week, we bring you the latest in Spartan sports, featuring guest appearances from coaches and student athletes. York's home teams play on York's home for local sports. Spartan Sports Weekly, Mondays at 4 on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Security in life isn't something you just wish for. You build it with a strong financial plan. Start with Northwestern Mutual. Together, we'll design a disciplined and balanced approach to financial security, because reaching your goals is something we both want to work toward. To learn more, contact me, Dan McGarry, at my office on the Square in York. Look for the blue awnings. Who's helping you build your financial future? The Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
The Central Panthers break the 40-year drought and win the York Adams League Boys Basketball Championship. Last February, Central defeated William Penn for the league title. Now the rematch. I'm Ron Ruman. Andy Bria and I will be there for the first meeting between the Panthers and Bearcats since the league championship. York High went on to win the district title last season, and both squads have high hopes again this year. Don't miss it. Central and William Penn, Friday at 7 on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK and GameTimePA.com.
Your teams all the time. York's only place for local sports. Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
We're back on Game Day with GameTimePA, and coming out of the break, we're going to talk some more boys basketball. I'm going to start with a team I think both of you guys have some familiarity with, and that is Gettysburg, new to the YAIAA. But Brandon, you've seen them?
I saw them this week against Dover. Yeah, 2-point loss, a tough one there at home against Dover.
Now, what did you see? I mean, Dover's a pretty good team, Matt. I mean, I think you were able to establish that watching them this week. We didn't know, once again, Brian Schmoyer's doing another heck of a job, and we'll hold on that because we want to mention it. But what did you see in that game from Gettysburg?
I saw they have some outside shooters. They love, they fall in love with the three. They kind of live and die by it. So, so far, they made 8. They might have shot 30, 35 in that one. Dover went into a 2-3 zone, and Gettysburg looked really uncomfortable with it in the first half. Gettysburg scored 13 points in the first half and had no offensive flow whatsoever. They were down 16 in the third quarter, and all of a sudden Marquise Campbell takes over and puts up 16 second half points, and they come all the way back and tie the game with 2 minutes left. And then they ended up falling, but they got more aggressive in the second half. In the first half, they looked awful. in the second half, they looked a little bit more aggressive. Ryan Beck kind of had his way with them. He went to the line 16 times, made 12 of them, scored 24 points. Fink had a double-double down low. O'Neal had a double-double down low. Their guy, Lampy, their big guy, was held to 3 points. He wasn't looking to shoot too much down for them. He was more of a rebounding guy. But Campbell looked really good for him. Bordner hit some outside shots. They're not afraid to fire it away from 2-3 feet behind the line. So, I mean, if they're on, then they're on, like we saw in the second half when they were knocking them down. But when they were off in the first half, they were really, really off, and they were having trouble to find any kind of offensive rhythm.
Marquise Campbell is my favorite player on that team. He's he's about 5'7", a shifty guard. He can contort his body going to the hoop in ways that I couldn't imagine, and really I think he really is the glue to that team. He makes things go. Tyler Lampy, though, his athleticism at 6'4", or so is also just a nice asset to have for that team. But Brandon pointed out the shooting. I saw them against West York. West York shut them out in the second quarter of their matchup. And Jeff Baer commented on how, them being a shooting team that likes to shoot the threes, being in a new gym, it kind of factored in that way. And they also struggled with what West York's doing defensively this year, which is a lot of shifting, especially on the perimeter with their defenders, trading assignments and stuff like that. And Jeff Baer told me that's on me, he said, to quote him. He thought, just with the preparation. That's just one of the little hiccups that they have to deal with this first year in the York Adams League.
But that's not an easy place for anybody to go play, especially a shooting team where you got to go shoot. I mean, the little confines of the West York gym, everybody's right there, right on your lap. And
don't tell that to Jerry O'Neal in Dover. They had quite the big win there just a couple days earlier.
Yeah, good point. Let's come back to that, but let's go ahead and listen to your interview with Gettysburg coach Jeff Baer.
That second quarter, I mean, that's the one thing.
Yeah, Coach Ackerman had them ready and had a plan, and that plan, we weren't ready for early season. We'll be ready for that later when we have more time to practice, but them switching on everything really bothered us, and one more at 8:30, we'll be talking a lot about those things.
Your guys came out like gangbusters to start that third quarter. I mean, it must have been something you said to them to get them going, really?
They're a very confident group. Like, they're going to come and play. They just... I think they were embarrassed. I think they wanted to come out. I think they felt they could play, So, we got after them a little bit, and that was a good thing. And again, every time we made the right play, they made a better play,
I really wanted to ask you, 2 games into the league schedule, what's your thoughts on this new endeavor for you guys this year so far?
Well, I think that we knew right away it was going to be a great division. I mean, I think Division II is just great. I think the competition's going to be, you better be ready to play every night. And if you're not, you're going to lose. So I think that's a great challenge. I think it's fun.
Yeah.
So
are there any other challenges you think for you or for the guys, whether it be, like playing unfamiliar foes, like, like what, a scouting disadvantage or anything?
That's my job.
Yeah.
We'll work out there, but let's all go together. But again, we're working on those things. I think we're making a little extra emphasis, scouting-wise and doing those kind of things because we can't rely on past years. Though I do not know where the trainer is, but I'm sure you can catch somebody. There's got to be an adult somewhere. Check this. Jordan, take him and ask that guy in the blue sweatshirt where the trainer is.
Sorry for the confusion on the bad cut. I believe
truly behind-the-scenes look at a reporter right there. Thank you.
I believe I might have sent Daryl Henry the wrong audio clip because I actually had the kids not asking about the trainer.
Yeah, there were about 3 times in my interviews that somebody stopped Coach Baer and asked him, hey, where's the trainer? Where's this? Where's that? I was talking to him for probably about 15 minutes because, a 2 or 3 minute interview because we had to stop so many times and help somebody out and stuff. And we didn't get everything cut out.
Not Matt Gould's fault. I'll tell you what, he provided a usable clip for me to cut up, and that I did cut it up. I think I just sent the wrong, so I apologize for that. Then we had to cut him short.
The real question is, did they find a trainer?
Yes, they did. They did.
Yeah, and
they all found him. It was like a group mentality because it was like just follow the last kid who came out of the locker room asking at one point.
And somebody else was looking for the bus or something late, late upon talking with him. So anyhow, let's just move on. And again, sorry about the confusion there.
But to actually hit up on some of the things that we were talking about a little bit more, he mentioned one of the things that actually is a luxury to them is they played a lot of teams. They played Northeastern, Dallastown, and teams like that in the past.
Yeah.
And he actually could use that tape, use that film to see what the other teams do. I mean, maybe not personnel-wise matchup guys, but at least get a look of, all right, what do they run defensively? What do they like to do on offense? Those types of things.
Well, you mentioned that, and even when players graduate, a lot of times the systems still stay the same.
They do, but West York made that change
Yeah.
that they didn't do last year, which was a lot of that defensive switching, which is something that caught them by surprise because they didn't get a chance to see him. And Gettysburg has seen West York in person.
Mhm.
Brandon had a story about it. They have that Maryland Pennsylvania crossover matchup thing. It'll be a York Adams versus Mid-Penn situation this year, which Brandon wrote about a couple of months ago. So that's one of those little things in there where they did get an opportunity to see West York in the past, but not the same West York.
Now, we talked about West York being such a difficult place to play, but you mentioned Dover's success there. Tell me about that game.
I'll tell you what, I can't make heads or tails of Dover right now because it's like they have a league, non-league success sandwich right now. Like they win a league game, then they go outside of their division, play somebody else, and lose. I mean, we saw them lose to a New Oxford team that hadn't beat anybody else this season. And then they come back the next night and beat Gettysburg. I mean, after having beaten West York. So, in that aspect, I can't make heads or tails of what's going on with that team. They seem to be very fickle right now.
Wait a minute. Now, if you can't make heads or tails with them, how does Brian Schmoyer feel? I mean, Brian's one of the most passionate guys, and he has done so much with that program.
Why do you
over
think
the
he
last
doesn't
several
have any
years.
hair left? He's obviously pulled it out.
Probably, and Brian is a great guy. I mean, and when you get to know him a little bit, and then I remember, kind of getting to know him years back, and then I remember he was just amazed because I came out to, I remember it's because it was at Lower Marion High School, a state playoff game, and it was actually a doubleheader, the West York girls and then the Dover boys. And they had to, I'm sorry, it wasn't there, but it was at a suburban Philadelphia school, but they had to play Lower Marion.
Yes.
Boy, what a fun matchup that was. Welcome to the state tournament. I mean, one of the smallest quad A's in the state had to face a place that graduated Kobe Bryant. But Brian handled that so well. I mean, I was so impressed. I mean, he didn't coach it like, hey, we're playing Kobe Bryant's alma mater. We know we're going to get our tails kicked in that. He coached it 32 minutes and afterwards said, hey, it was a great experience being here.
And in all seriousness, I think this is a team that is trending upward, especially this season. You look, I mean, we've talked about Ryan Beck plenty of times, how he's the league's leading scorer last season. He's going to contend for that title again, and he really, makes them go when he's in the game, but they've got Naja Fink at 6'6", such a matchup problem for other teams because he can get in there, and I don't know if he has had a game without 10 rebounds this season. He blocks shots. Jerry O'Neal, an athletic wing, can do a little bit of everything for them, really on the defensive end, add something, but the thing that really catches my eye with this team is they have another freshman starting in the backcourt with Ryan Beck. That's Brady Bowman. What's he going to learn playing alongside Ryan this year that he can take with him for his next 3 seasons of high school basketball?
And Brandon, when you saw him, you said the two guys both went double digits, rebounds, points, and rebounds.
They both, against against Tyler Lampy, who's a big guy for Gettysburg. They both, I think O'Neal finished with 10 and 12, and Fink with 14 and 11. Fink and Lampy got into it a couple times. Both physical guys, but O'Neal impressed me, especially on the defensive end. He had a couple big blocks down low toward the end, and. You talk about Bowman, a freshman. I couldn't even tell he was a freshman when I saw him play. He was handling the ball in the fourth quarter when the game was getting tight, and it's a flurry. They're on the road. It's a crazy environment, and he handled it just fine.
Also, one of those rare left-handed perimeter players.
Oh, okay.
So that adds a little difficulty to defending him. But just to add to what Brandon was saying, in the game against West York, a team with a bull of a rebounder in Darian McCauley.
Yeah.
Naja Fink had 13 boards. Jerry O'Neal had 10 in that matchup as well.
And you know what, that does mean a lot. Now, switching gears, if you will, but you mentioned lefties. Well, I saw a really good lefty in Adam Freeze, as I mentioned in Kennerdale on Saturday. But the most impressive play of the game, Kyle Wooldridge. Okay, Kyle's with 6'3", and I've only seen one dunk so far this year, and that of course was by Kobe Nwandu. Kyle Woolridge was way over the rim when he jammed one home on Bermudian. And somebody said to me, was that the first dunk you've seen at Kennerdale since Adam Miller? And yes. I mean, it was. Now, honestly, we don't make a ton of trips to Fawn Grove, especially on deadline nights. It's very difficult. And yes, I saw Adam Miller's behind the head dunk to set the county scoring record back in 1992.
He went reverse on it.
Went reverse.
Old school.
Oh, no, it's better, though, because West York passed him the ball.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because it was their last home game.
That's
He was
awesome.
a senior, last home game. Kennerdale was up like 30. And a West York kid won under the Kennerdale basket, and the one of the West York guards went up to Miller and said, "Go long, we're throwing to you."
Wow, that's a great story.
There was only a couple seconds left in the game. They threw long. Miller, he gets it. He's alone. Goes behind his head, dunks it, sets.
Great, that'd be great throwback Thursday. I like
it's
that.
already been done.
Oh, very good.
So,
we're on top.
It was great. It was great.
So
good
great.
point.
It was one of our first ones.
Absolutely,
It might have been the first one.
I'm new here.
Yeah. So no. In all fairness, it was before you got here, Teddy.
And to tease another Throwback Thursday, which I was working on before I was asked to be a hand model this afternoon before coming into the office.
Matt teasing his own work again.
Stop.
Doing a Throwback Thursday on the 1999 Northeastern York Catholic game, district playoff game. Northeastern had 3 1,000-point career scorers on that team. York Catholic won its second to last district title it's had. 11 of them total, most of any York Adams League team. So.
With a bunch of future coaches on that team.
Yeah, Ryan Luckman, who we were talking about earlier, was on that team, and so was Kevin Sheeler, the Central York coach, who admitted that he was a bench warmer on that team.
That's funny. Good for him. Well, we're going to go to break, folks. When we come back, we're going to start talking YAIA girls hoops. After this, you're listening to Game Day with GameTimePA.
Turning a double play takes teamwork, and so does preparing for life's challenges. Murray Securus works with you, hand in hand, providing thoughtful solutions to help you plan for the future. Team up with Murray Securus for safer, more secure risk management, personal insurance, health benefits, wealth management, even cutting-edge human resource solutions for individuals and small to large businesses. Living life in a winning way just takes a little teamwork. Call Murray Securus today at 397-9600 or go to murrayins.com.
The Central Panthers break the 40-year drought and win the York Adams League Boys Basketball Championship. Last February, Central defeated William Penn for the league title. Now the rematch. I'm Ron Ruman. Andy Bria and I will be there for the first meeting between the Panthers and Bearcats since the league championship. York High went on to win the district title last season, and both squads have high hopes again this year. Don't miss it. Central and William Penn, Friday at 7 on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK and GameTimePA.com.
You waited until the last minute to do your holiday shopping again? Well, it's never too late to thrill the Revolution fan in your life, or too early to start thinking baseball. The Apple Chevrolet ticket office at Santander Stadium will be open 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. this Saturday. Clear out one last space under that tree for a Revolution holiday pack, which includes 4 tickets, 4 food vouchers, and a 2015 Revolution wall calendar for just $59. Don't forget, a Revolution gift card makes a great stocking stuffer or office gift.
Revolution!
Sports Radio 1350 WOYK honors the Shipley Energy Student Athlete of the Week.
This week's Shipley Energy Boys Student Athlete of the Week is Spring Grove point guard Eli Brooks. In his first 3 games of the season, Brooks scored 24 points, 20 points with 7 rebounds, followed by another 22-point performance to pace the Rockets out of the gates. This week's Shipley Energy Girls Student Athlete of the Week is Dallastown forward Amari Johnson. Johnson opened the season by claiming MVP honors at the Hemfield tip-off tournament, scoring 18 points in the title game. She then enjoyed a huge game in a victory over Central, netting 19 points with 18 boards in a 55-50 win. Johnson is a University of Rhode Island commit.
Get your home ready for fall and winter and sign up for the Shipley Energy Protection Plan. For more information, visit shipleyenergy.com. The puck drops here.
Wellman, the shot, score!
Sports Radio 1350, your home for Hershey Bears hockey.
Casey Wellman has won it in overtime for Hershey.
And the Washington Capitals.
Hearing a shot, they score!
Defending the Den and rocking the red all season. Catch the Bears and the Caps on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Hi, I'm West York boys basketball coach Bill Ackerman. You're listening to Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Well, we're back on GameTimePA here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK, and we're going to shift over to the girls' side of the hoop, if you will. And let's go ahead and stay on the Dover trend, Matt, because obviously, talk about a team hit with graduation from last year, but yet the Eagles, they've looked pretty good early.
Talking about first-year coach Marley Clunk and those Eagles, they are off to a 3-2 start. I think their competition, might factor into that a little bit, you could say. But they had a season opener against Paul Myra team that is known for contending for district titles in the AA rank, or the AAA ranks, excuse me. So I talked to Coach Marley Clunk about that Wednesday night after they beat Gettysburg 47-27. Looking at Gettysburg, they have a sophomore named Brandon. Do you know the pronunciation for Miss Johnson?
Deveshi,
I believe.
Thank you for not trying it, though, Matt.
Well, I kind of did at the end there. So she had like 15 and 16 for them on Wednesday, and talking to some other colleagues, they were really high on her. So, but that team struggled a little bit. They're 1-5. Just to give an example of some of the teams that Dover's beaten this so far this year. But you look at that Dover team. One senior in their starting lineup who did not really play on the varsity team last year. The one varsity player who is back, Marissa Coley, is currently out with a concussion, coming back from that. So here's a team, their two leading scorers, and honestly their two best players, freshman Raja Fink, sophomore Rhea Fink.
Didn't we mention Fink when we just talked about the Dover boys?
They are Naja Fink's younger sisters, and just like Naja, they were homeschooled up until last year. And they are definitely athletic. They play on the perimeter, unlike Naja, but they can rebound just like their older brother.
But they don't lack size either, though.
They don't lack size. Rhea is 5'10", and Raja is 5'9". Rhea is 5'10", the sophomore, but Raja has a pretty nice size hair that can that might make her 5'11". At least she plays bigger than the 5'9". And she is a force for that team as just a freshman, and I think that's a team that we're going to see in the league playoffs by next year. Probably maybe not this year, but definitely next year.
And but to think, when you and I kind of started looking at things when we were in the middle of our football to basketball transition, I mean, we already looked at Division II at this menagerie, if you will. And when we come back from break, I'm gonna talk extensively about one of those other Division II teams that you and I didn't talk a ton about in York Suburban. And I have an interview that will play after the break with their coach Jess Barley, another one of those coaches I covered. Gosh, that list is getting longer and longer and longer. But nonetheless, when you look at that division, I mean, West York is really good. Now, Dover obviously didn't drop off maybe as much as we thought they would. Mm-hmm. Northeastern, very good. Suburban's pretty good. You still got this is as deep a division as I've seen in a long time.
I think just to bring some clarity to it, I think it is three teams that are head and shoulders above the rest, that being West York, Northeastern, and York Suburban, just to be honest. But but Dover's got quite the future ahead of it, and that's a team that's going to. I almost hesitate to say they're my early pick to win the 2016 York Adams League Division II title, but they're going to they're going to be a fun team to watch this season. They already are.
And then, but the thing that is, the benefits of having it this way are tremendous for those upper echelon teams, because now you're not getting a whole lot of freebies.
You're not getting nights off,
as the league season goes, and even Kennerdale can play you tough. And obviously they've got a couple decent players there, but they're tough. They're tough players, so they're not going to give you, even if you beat them by 20. Mm-hmm. You're going to know you played against them, and they're going to win games.
And even playing a Susquehannock team that, just like Dover, was hit hard by graduation, you still got to count for Ashley Stone.
Oh yeah.
So that I think the fact that Suburban has emerged the way they have, really kind of throws a wrench into this division picture.
Oh, and again, like I said, that's something I think we're going to talk, a bit about after the break, because I was really, really impressed when I was down there Friday night. So, now, Brandon, let's go to Division One, and here's a team. I don't know. I kind of doubt. I don't know that you've seen them yet, but did you see the other night Southwestern shut out Redline, a proverbial power in Division One? Shut them out in the first quarter.
I saw that. I heard Ruben kind of raving about that, how impressive that was for Southwestern, who wasn't exactly at the top. He's raved a lot about New Oxford in Division One. Yeah,
they're legit.
Yeah, New Oxford's undefeated. I saw they got a big win over Spring Grove. A little extra motivation playing a former teammate there in that one. But yeah, anytime you shut out an opponent for an entire quarter, it's pretty impressive. I saw Gettysburg, speaking of girls basketball, get shut out for 2 quarters against, or held without a field goal for 2 quarters against Lone, but that's a different story as well.
Gettysburg, both their boys and girls got shut out in the second quarter of the same night when I was seeing them against West York, and the Gettysburg girls were playing West York.
That is unbelievable. That's an unbelievable stat.
Yeah, it was a terrible night and a terrible quarter for Gettysburg.
And a terrible coincidence, if you would. That's for sure. But
the hit on Southwestern, I think Red Lion, if I'm not mistaken, came back and won that game in overtime.
The Red Line, it was 41-38 in overtime, but Southwestern seemed to lead as we were following on Twitter, Twitter feeds and that Southwestern was leading for nearly that entire game, and that's one of those things though. As a coach, you go, man, you look at that 2 ways. You say we were behind, we had the lead in Red Line, we did this, we did that, and darn it, we just didn't finish. I mean, it's a tough one.
Yeah, I mean, coaches don't like speaking about morale victories, but I feel like that one, like you said earlier, for the Spring Groves game, is almost like one where you take confidence away from that one. You feel like, okay, we played with the big boys or played with the big girls, and we held our own.
Yeah, I'm going to assume, though, there was. And in fact, we did see some angry Don Dimoff tweets. He broke a clipboard, and that is his team wasn't scoring. You're going to get that great defense, but, when you're not scoring, you can play all the defense in the world. You're still trailing.
Now, I'm wondering if he broke it with his bare hands or if he had to hit it over something.
The thing of it is, we kid Don a little bit, and just because it's kind of easy to do. But, realistically, I mean, you did that terrific piece on on his daughter Courtney that ran Thanksgiving, and when you look at him, I mean, he's not, as Courtney said it best, he's not the crazy man we see on the sidelines at home. But I'm sure we got extra crazy that night.
There's a few coaches who are like that, and it's kind of funny. Like I noticed when York High boys played Reading early in the season on the second night, Reading's coach looked like he was ready to explode so many times, but he never did. And so many times, people in the stands want to say, "Take it easy, coach. Take it easy, coach." And he's really keeping it in. You can scream, you can yell, but I mean, you see them and they turn around and they're hugging their kids and they're giving them encouraging words. So, and a lot of times, these coaches yell so their kids can hear them. And I think a lot of people forget that as well.
Good point. And as a hockey coach, I will tell you, as I'm trying to yell over kids skating with sticks in their hands and the fact that they're 11 and 12-year-old boys, we do yell just to be heard sometimes. And then we do yell just so they'll pay attention.
But you don't have to yell to get your point across. There's different ways to get your point across.
Yeah, you do. If the kids can't hear you on the court.
Yeah. The point being is the kids being able to hear.
I really just wanted to start a friendly debate.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm sorry. I'm going to take up with the coach side there because I have to.
Teddy, what does Ben Wallace have to do with it?
Where's Lamar Odom?
Yeah, and folks, just so you know, every time we're going to break, Teddy is just throwing out names here because he threw us off there earlier in the show.
That was the definition of blank stares, I think.
Yeah, exactly. But so again, kind of back to the subject. I mean, that is potentially something. I mean, what it means in Division One when you're talking, you got the leaders of Downtown, Harvard, Downtown, New Oxford this week.
Ooh, on Friday night, that's going to be. There are some tantalizing matchups this Friday night. I mean, we've got on the boys' side, William Penn and Central. Like you said, you'll be at York Catholic and Hanover. But on the girls' side, all 3 divisions, their leaders are facing off. Dallastown and New Oxford in Division 1, West York and York Suburban in Division 2, and of course in Division 3, York and DeLone Catholic. I
Yeah.
mean, that is a hoopster's dream. I think it's an early Christmas present from George Shue and the York Adams League scheduling committee.
Yeah, problem is we can only get to just so many of those games. That's the worst part. I mean, how we feel this weekend, holiday weekend, isn't as bad as how we're going to feel in late January.
Yeah, I do wish they would spread them out a little bit more so I could get to some different ones.
Exactly, no question about that. So, anyhow, I guess we're about ready for the 5 o'clock break. Daryl's nodding, so without any further ado, let's go to break. You're listening to Game Day with Game Time PA here on Sports Radio 1350 WOIK.
This is a Radio PA news update. Police in Bristol Township and Bucks County are investigating after students reported seeing a sexually explicit video involving juveniles circulating among classmates at Franklin Roosevelt Middle School. Investigators say they've confiscated at least 10 cell phones as part of the probe. No charges have been filed. Some dire warnings from the man about to become Pennsylvania's governor, as Brad Chrisman reports.
Governor-elect Tom Wolf has been in Philadelphia and Northeast PA this week, sounding the alarm about the upcoming budget process.
We need to think about solutions on the spending side. We need to think about solutions on the revenue side. And just hoping for growth doesn't seem like that's going to be enough. So we have a real problem.
Wolf has until early March to finish his first budget proposal, which he will then try to push through a Republican-controlled legislature. Estimates are there will be a $2 billion or so budget gap to fill when lawmakers and the governor get down to the business of crafting a spending plan for the 2015-16 fiscal year. I'm Brad Chrisman.
The State Public Utility Commission has voted 4-1 to give ride-sharing service Lyft conditional approval to offer service for 2 years everywhere in Pennsylvania except Philadelphia. A competing service known as Uber won approval last month to operate for 2 years in the state. And the Liquor Control Board is launching a pilot program in 4 college communities with the goal of cutting down on dangerous and underage drinking. The schools involved are Westchester and Kutztown Universities, Alvernia College, and Indiana University of Pennsylvania. One of the goals, according to Bethany Gardner with the LCB, is to have liquor licensees certified under a program known as RAMP.
The Responsible Alcohol Management Program. And it's a training program we offer that provides training to owners and managers and servers and sellers, because they feel that if they can train people to appropriately stop service or stop over service, then that can definitely impact what's happening in the community as well.
Officials plan a series of meetings with local officials over the next 3 months with a formal plan of action due by next May. I'm David Payne, and you're up to date from Radio PA.
With winter weather just around the corner, contact a qualified service technician to ensure that your propane system is operating safely. Make sure that everyone in your family knows what propane smells like and what to do in the event of a gas leak, including knowing where the gas supply valve is and when and how to safely close it. Call us today to learn more.
Brought to you by the Pennsylvania Propane Gas Association and your local propane service providers. Hey hunters, give us your best shot. The Pennsylvania Game Commission wants you to share this season's best hunting moment for a chance to star in its next TV commercial. If you have a great shot of you, your buddies, or your family doing what you love best, we want to see it. To enter, simply submit your favorite hunting photo by visiting GoHuntPA.org and follow the easy instructions. Whether you got something or not, give us your best shot and read all the rules and regulations by visiting GoHuntPA.org, a site for .org.
First in York, first in sports. Your only local sports station. The new Sports Radio 1350, WOIK, York, Pennsylvania.
Some competition from Merck. This is the Dow Jones Money Report. I'm Jen Ursillo. An experimental shingles vaccine from GlaxoSmithKline has produced impressive results in a late-stage study, giving the group's expanding vaccine unit a potential $1 billion boost. The data suggests the British company's new shot could be a strong competitor for Merck's established vaccine, the only product on the market. For a second day in a row, stocks are higher, up more than 1% each. Dow Jones Industrials are up 335 points at 17,692. The Nasdaq's up 88 points. The S&P 500 is also up 38. An index designed to predict the future wealth of the economy posted its third straight solid gain in November. The Conference Board says the index of leading indicators increased 0.6%, matching the revised October gain. Dunkin' Brands Group expects slower sales of packaged coffee at its shops and predicts ongoing pressure on consumers to continue into next year. It also expects its joint ventures in Japan and Korea to hurt its 2015 results. Shares are down 7%. Jen Ursillo, Dow Jones Money Report.
All loans subject to OnDeck score approval must be in business at least 1 year to apply. Are you a small business owner who needs working capital? At OnDeck, we can help. We focus on your business operations and cash flow, not just your personal credit score. And we're ready to help with loans of up to $250,000. True business loans, not a credit card advance. OnDeck provides financing to hundreds of different types of businesses like restaurants, auto body shops, healthcare, and service providers. So if you've been frustrated by the paperwork and long decision times of traditional lenders, see why so many small business owners are turning to OnDeck for the funding they need. Call now and speak with an OnDeck funding specialist. Our simple application process takes just minutes, and funding could be available in just 1 business day. OnDeck has an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. We provided over $1 billion to businesses. So if you're a small business owner who needs financing for your business, visit us at ondeck.com or call us at 800-293-6819. That's 800-293-16. 800-293-6.
Hi, I'm Central York boys basketball coach Kevin Sheeler. You're listening to Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Welcome back for the second hour of Game Day with Game Time PA. Steve Navaroli, Matt Gould, Teddy Feinberg, Brandon Stoneberg. And before we move on, we got a programming note from one Teddy Feinberg. Take it away.
Nice promo. That was a good segue, Steve. We have 2 wrestling live streams tonight from a local standpoint or from a York Adams standpoint. We have Susquehannock at York Suburban. Both of these are wrestling, 7:30 p.m. start. You can watch it on GameTimePA.com/Game of the Week. We also have Anvil Cleona at Northern Lebanon Wrestling. That is on GameTimePA.com/Lebanon on Live. So if you are into the wrestling scene, you know where to be tonight. There are no excuses. Matt, it looks like you're ready to say something.
And a treat for that Suburban Susquehannock match. Our resident wrestling guru, Andy Meese, will be on commentary for that game.
Great call. Great call.
You know what? I was hoping... And maybe I was hoping that after doing a play-by-play of a football game, this fall, that I really, I enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun. And when I knew kind of the schedule we had for wrestling and that, I was really hoping Andy would get the opportunity to do it because, I mean, he is into the sport. I don't think we can credit him enough for the stuff he's doing.
If you tune into that matchup tonight, I think there's a very good chance that Andy will spladle your brain.
Wow.
Thanks, Matt. That's great. I do want to say this, though. Another just promo for us. The Varsity Beat blog, Andy does a great weekly wrestling blog entry on there. It appears Monday afternoon, Monday evening, and it's first rate for those wrestling fans out there that can't get enough. I strongly recommend it.
And, of course, if you can't get enough swimming, I post the leading swim times from every week.
There's that, too, and that's first rate.
And I'll be doing that again tonight because tonight is a big swimming night on the schedule.
And if you want some hoop stats, you can head over to GameTimePA.com right now. Just posted it late last night. Boys and girls scoring leaders, individual scoring leaders, along with team stats, which includes free throw percentages, points for, points against averages, and average margin of victory.
And I'll credit Matt for learning how to use a spreadsheet. Thanks to who?
Some old geezer that I work with with a gold chain.
But Matt took it a step further, folks. He did a great job. He not only took a little bit of what I directed. I'm not going to say taught. I directed him a little bit, and he took it further. He does the breakdown of the boys' stats. I try to do the girls' stats, except for sometimes he's impatient, can't wait for me to get caught up, and he'll go ahead and do them. But what he's done,
and then complain that you didn't put in the records for every team after every game.
Exactly. So, but what he's done for the presentation, I mean, he was smart. He did it smartly so he could easily adapt it and give you folks the information. So much props to Matt.
Although we have to point out something quite evil I once did. You all probably, if you're listening, you're familiar with Steve's trials and with throat cancer. And while Steve was out sick, he couldn't talk. But, we would text and communicate, and he was doing the spreadsheets. And I actually wasn't even a writer then. I was still on the desk.
But you were helping write because I was out.
And I kind of goofed up Alex Cooley's football stats that we had.
Which were huge, a lot of numbers.
Yeah, it was after week 10. Cooley had just rushed for 500 yards the second time of the season. And I kind of incorrectly inputted the stats. And poor Steve, who couldn't talk, couldn't speak. I just completely ruined his stats, a part of the coding, and I know he wanted to scream at me, and he couldn't. He was bedridden at home, could not get up out of the couch, and here I am just adding to his.
He yelled in a whisper.
The text messages between us were, looking back, were really funny. But I'm like, Matt, he goes, but the stats were wrong in there. I'm like, but you can't enter something in there. You got to go back to the form. So I leaned over and I fixed the formula then, but I think Matt still feels bad about that. He doesn't feel bad about much, but I think he still feels bad about that.
Basically, what I did is instead of changing Alex's numbers week by week to make it reflect the totals, I changed it in the totals where the coding is for that. To add that up.
For anybody that knows spreadsheets knows that's like a sin you don't touch. So
don't
that's
touch the totals.
That's been a running
don't touch
joke.
The sum.
Yeah, that's been a running joke for Matt and I ever since. Stay out of the total category.
Stay away from the yellow.
Yes, exactly. So Brandon, when you see our spreadsheet, you'll know. Now you know.
Yeah, now I know how much work and effort goes into it on both sides.
Yeah, and then now you know why I'm adamant about having it color coded. But now that he's learned how to do it, hey, I did. He's
it only took me 2 years.
He's a champ with it. So yeah, great stuff there. But anyhow, back to hoops, and we talk a little bit about the York Suburban girls, and let me tell you what, I saw them Friday night, and we've both been really impressed with Northeastern, and that. But how about Suburban, a 10-point win against Northeastern? Now, when I talked to Coach Jess Barley of both of Darrell Henry's alma maters, York Suburban and York College, and when I talked to Jess. Before the season, she said she was adamant about how much they were going to play defense. Well, let me tell you what, this team can play some serious defense. Matt, you and I touched on them. We expected them to be better. I think they're even better than I expected, though.
I think, what, we've been talking about the surprise teams in Division II, and we were hitting on Dover earlier. For as surprising as Dover is, I don't even know if you can compare that to how surprising Suburban is, because Suburban looks like it is a legit player for a league tournament appearance this year, and I'd be interested to see what they can do against the rest of District 3 as well.
They're good at, they're good defensively, they're good at rebounding, but one of the things that really impressed me was when Northeastern was trailing, they went press mode in the third quarter. Mm-hmm. Suburban did a great job. A couple times near the end, it got a little frantic, but that'll happen every game. But they handled the ball so well, and it was all 5 players could handle it. And when you've got some of your bigs able to come back, meet you at mid-court, well, now you've taken away some of the trapping ability. And I was really impressed with how they handled that. Brandon, you look like you want to add something.
No, I'm good. I'm just I'm listening.
Okay. So, that was one of the things. And when you looked around their players, you're thinking, okay, she's got size, she's a good rebounder. But when she was able to catch and dribble, man, a big difference. So really, really impressed with York Suburban. And on that note, let's go ahead and listen to my interview. Hopefully this is the right interview this time with Trojans coach Jess Barley.
This was a special one. We've been talking a long time about, we've been competitive last year, we've been competitive this year. We need to finish. We need to finish games. We don't want to be a good team, we want to be a great team. And tonight we put together 4 full quarters, which was huge. We talked a lot about win the first, win the second, win the third, win the fourth, not looking ahead too much, and we just needed to finish. We just kept saying finish, and they did a great job. It was a team effort. Kids on the court, kids on the bench, they earned it. Good. Yeah, we thought that we would see the press. In the game, we worked on that in practice. We've been working on it. We had Susquehannock early in the week, and they pressed us. So, there's still things we got to get better at, decision making. But we certainly worked on it to get ready for the game. We had 7-8 defenders on us sometimes, just really working on taking care of the ball. But it helps when you have 4 or 5 kids that can all get in positions that can dribble the ball for you. Even our forwards at times can help handle the ball. Stuck to the game plan. We wanted to control the tempo. We wanted to finish it, but we did. We talked about we're a good team. We know that, but we need to be a great team. We need to take the next step, and that was a start tonight. We also talked in the locker room about we have a heck of a week coming up. We have Eastern and West York, and our goal is to enjoy this for a few hours, and then we're going to come practice hard as heck tomorrow to get ready for East. Olivia Gettle has been our lockdown defender all year long. You know, she's held every team's top scorer to like under 10 points so far this year, and she is just athletic and tough. You know, so she did a great job locking down on her, taking away her strengths. Olivia's smart, and that sets her apart from other people in terms of defense. When you tell her what you want to do to lock down a defender and to take away their strengths, she does it, and she does it every possession. She's relentless with it. So she, you know, is not always in the box score for scoring, but she's one of the toughest kids I've ever met, you know, on the defensive end.
And we're back, and that was Trojans coach Jess Barley. And I want Daryl to chime in here. Daryl, you remember when Jess played probably at Bow Suburban and at York College. Does Jess Barley, the coach, remind you of Jess Barley, the player?
Absolutely. Yeah, I always thought she had that kind of personality about her as a player, leader on the floor. Actually, one of the first things I remember of Jess was in middle school. I had a basketball in my locker, you know, just to play after school in the parking lot or whatever. And she'd probably get mad at me for sharing this, but I remember, like, she was maybe in 8th grade, and I was in 7th grade, and she looks at me and she says, I'd beat you one-on-one. Yeah, you know what? You definitely would. But she had the confidence then, and you know, you could always sense growing up that she was kind of made to be around basketball, and she was going to do something great within the game.
As was her younger brother Mitch, who is actually the JV coach at West York. But Mitch was a terrific player at York Suburban and played at York College. So it's really funny. They are definitely a basketball family, no doubt. So, all right, folks. Well, we're going to go to break. Brandon, something else coming up?
Our lovely Uncle Steve segment. Plenty of quiz questions, plenty of opinion questions, throwback stuff to pick Steve's brain. So we're looking forward to that. We'll get back to that after the break.
All right, folks. You're listening to Game Day with GameTimePA here on Sports Radio 1350.
Get ready for winter now and save big on your heating oil or propane costs. Call today to schedule your first fill, and don't forget to ask our energy advisors about the right money-saving plan or budget to fit your lifestyle. Lock in your rate and protect your price all winter. Our price-protected customers save an average of $325 per year. Visit ShipleyEnergy.com or call 855-4SHIPLEY to schedule your next heating oil or propane delivery. Shipley Energy, energy for life.
Pretty soon your family will be itching to break out of the cabin you've been cooped up in all winter. Let the kids loose and get your caboose to Festive Ice, York's first winter ice festival, presented by York Traditions Bank on January 16th and 17th at Santander Stadium. Food trucks, music, laser tag giveaways, and guys chiseling Yetis out of ice with chainsaws. And there's more. As a bonus, tickets get you in both days and are only $3 for kids 12 and under, $6 for ages 13 and up, and free for tights 3 and under. FestiveIce.com.
Looking for something cool to do this weekend? Looking for a different kind of family fun? Come to the coolest place in town, York Ice Arena. Get on the ice with your friends for Rock and Skate, the last Friday of each month. Every Wednesday is family night with free skate rentals for the whole family. And remember, the coolest place in town is also available for the coolest birthday party in town. For party package prices and public skating times, check out YorkSkate.com. Want to learn to skate? Want to suit up and learn how to play some hockey? Come to the coolest place in town, York Ice Arena. Learn to skate programs are now available for all ages, for every skating ability. Class levels range from beginner to freestyle, where you'll learn basic jumps, spins, and footwork. And skating rental is included. Or get on the ice for York Ice Arena hockey programs. Taught by Ice Arena coaches, boys and girls can learn proper techniques for the game. Rental equipment is available. Group skating lessons and beginner hockey programs are forming now. Plus, York City residents get a 50% discount. Register today. Go to YorkSkate.com.
The Central Panthers break the 40-year drought and win the York Adams League Boys Basketball Championship.
Last February, Central defeated William Penn for the league title. Now the rematch. I'm Ron Ruman. Andy Bria and I will be there for the first meeting between the Panthers and Bearcats since the league championship. York High went on to win the district title last season, and both squads have high hopes again this year. Don't miss it. Central and William Penn, Friday at 7 on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK and GameTimePA.com.
The York College Spartans play here. Catch York College basketball all season on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. Your home for York's home teams.
Here's Wessner again, behind a screen, he hits another three! Ahead to Myers, wide open for the dunk. He jams another one, his second tonight.
The spot for the Spartans. Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports. We're Screamin' Green. How about you? The York College Spartans are on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Welcome back to Game Day with GameTimePA here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. I'm with Teddy Feinberg. Producer Daryl Henry is in the house tonight. We got Matt Gould, Steve Navaroli. This is our Uncle Steve segment where I toss some questions Steve and Matt's way and see what they can come up with to entertain us, really. We'll see if we can entertain you over the next 10 to 15 minutes here. We've talked favorite movies before, but I'm going to get really specific. And Steve, since hockey's your sport, from a standpoint of a hockey fan, what's the best hockey movie? I personally would go D2 Mighty Ducks, but that's just...
No.
D1.
No.
It's got to be Slapshot for now.
Slapshot, of course. I mean,
Miracle? Miracle get tossed in the top?
Well, here's the deal. Miracle, see, I go twofold with Miracle. Slapshot is the hockey movie. Now, inspiration and all that, Miracle, but... I remember the 80 Olympics, and there's no way the movie, as good as Kurt Russell was at playing Herb Brooks, nothing could emulate that moment, though. It was the greatest moment in United States sport history, bar none.
Wow.
They should have never won that game, and yet they won. They beat the unbeatable team, and what it meant off the ice, what it meant away from sports. Buddy, remember, I'm 18 years old. I had to enlist for the draft that year. And we were thinking we might have to go fight the commies. And all of a sudden, you had this complete shift.
Did Steve say that?
After that. No, it was the way it was. And this complete mentality shift after a hockey game. It meant more than anybody could imagine. So I'm sorry I digressed on your question.
All right.
Miracle was a great movie. HBO did an even better piece on that game and that event and those Olympics. Just one of their hour-long things that was even better. Believe me, I pull those 2 DVDs out all the time. Slapshot's still number one for hockey.
Is that the movie with the salad dressing guy?
Yes, correct. Paul Newman. Well done, Matt.
Next question I have for you. You talked a little bit about being able to coach your son and being a hockey coach on the side. What's the most satisfying part of coaching a team full of 11 and 12-year-olds?
You know what? I think it's when they look at you and say, well, you're a great coach. And it's funny because you're like, I didn't do anything to deserve that, if you will. Because number one, yeah, I played hockey, but I was never a very good skater. Mm-hmm. And growing up in Michigan, where all those kids could really skate, kept me off the high school team because there's no way I could keep up with them. So, but I always had a lot of hockey knowledge. I played street hockey and played that at a decent level. But when the kids say to you, oh, you're a great coach, when they skate better than you do, that feels pretty cool.
And working with them is much easier than working with me.
Well, it's a different challenge, that's for sure.
It's definitely more rewarding.
I'm sure in some ways you're right.
Well, you know what? I might put the listening skills on a similar level, but gotcha.
We've talked at length about Steve being here since for years and years, and he's done amazing work for us, and we're very grateful for it. Steve, is there anything left on your career to-do list? Anything still left you want to accomplish as a journalist?
Well, it's funny because I may have said, if you would have asked me before we had this show, I may have said that this was something I wanted to try, and then a few months later, I got to try doing play-by-play. Mm-hmm. And these are things I certainly never saw coming, and I really like, that aspect of it. And the thing that is, at this point in time, the way our jobs have changed over the 2 decades, I've been doing this, who knows? I don't even know at this point that I can imagine what else is out there that I might try to do. I think, part of the thing is, too, there's still always that, when am I going to have time or to be able to do all the things I want to do. But it's I think we're already doing stuff, at least me, I never imagined.
You just touched on a little bit. My next question was actually kind of some of the bigger changes since when you started to now. Is there anything specific? I mean, I'm sure there's a list, a long list of things that are different now. But is there something on that list where you could talk to a guy like me and my age group coming up and be like, you won't believe what we had to do back in 95 or 98 or
oh boy, yeah, 1991 was.
I mean, typewriters for one. That's a joke.
Well, okay, you say typewriters, but we used a system, guys. You guys have only worked on PCs, all right? We used a system called ATEX. ATEX or Apex. It was ATEX, and it was a quote computer. The keyboard was 4 inches thick. The keys stood up from that, and you had to pound the heck out of these things, and you had to look at a 10-inch monitor that was huge with a green background and yellow print on the monitor.
So scrap iron.
It's even hard to imagine it. And my sports editor at the time, Steve Zients, was a 2-finger typer, and you had to hit those keys so hard. I don't know how he didn't break that thing every time he typed. I mean,
the keyboard or his fingers?
The keyboard. Well, you know what? That's a good question, Matt, because I don't know how he didn't break his fingers. Because, I mean, bam, 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 and it was unbelievable. But that was like one of the things that I don't know that you guys could even envision working on. And once we went to the PC system in the mid-'90s, it was like, wow, this is a lot better. And then, of course, we've already changed publishing systems a couple times, and every change is seemingly for the better, although, you get a few months down the road, Matt, and we're saying, oh, man, when I like to try something,
Well, I think back just in awe of, like, in the early 2000s of, I didn't have access to the internet maybe at most games.
Right.
So I would type up a game story on deadline and have to dictate it in over the phone.
Yeah.
I mean, there's countless times we had to do that. And you know what? I have to give credit to a former editor of mine. That actually made me a better writer, because when I would dictate the story, there was a time where I couldn't even have time to write it. I had to dictate it to him off my brain to get it to make deadline. And that right there made me a better writer.
Well, and that's a great point. I mean, and now, some of the things that have gotten easier. I mean, I remember I'd have to get to like a field hockey game or a soccer game a half an hour early and write down the entire roster. Back then,
not just take a picture.
Not just take a picture. Back then, a lot of times coaches didn't have a roster they could hand out, so you would have to hand write, which good challenge for me considering my writing is so terrible. So imagine I'm handwriting 25 team, 25 player rosters and that, just things like that. And the ability to just snap a picture with my cell phone, much, much better.
Internet alone, I mean, it changed the entire world.
No, the internet changed everything, and even to a degree sometimes, just being able to email for a quick information, I mean, it's just, the instantaneous thing, is tremendous. Texting, it's just, the list is unbelievable, like you said, Brandon.
Gotcha. Tonight I cover my first wrestling match for GameTimePA. Was there any sport that you were specifically nervous about covering for the first time when you got started?
Yeah, high school swimming.
Really?
Oddly enough, and I knew nothing about it, and again, I mentioned Steve Zients. He presented with me at the time. He said, hey, I was working part-time for us. I was a correspondent, and he said, hey, our writers are really busy, but we need somebody who can kind of really take over the beat of high school swimming. I had a lot of time then, and I'll try it. And I go to my first swim meet wearing a sweater. And this was before...
Like I showed up one time.
Exactly, yes. Yeah, when you showed up to do video with me wearing a sweater. So, and this was before automatic the scoreboard and that, and they would have to write the results in the book off stopwatches. So it was 3 hours at a pool, sweating. So, I learned, but I was only a little bit nervous because I had no idea how they ran these things. And that's half the battle. I mean, I think, certainly maybe wrestling was a challenge because I haven't done a lot of it because I've done so much swimming, but nerves, maybe that's not the right word, but sometimes some trepidation or concerns going in. Those are two big examples.
I think it's when it's a sport you don't know how to score And you go into, because I remember the first time I covered a girls volleyball match, I thought, how am I going to be able to keep track of everything? And then I found out both teams have their own scorekeepers that keep track of everything that you could need. So that was just such a relief.
Well, Matt, you had a little bit of a concern just coming here with how big volleyball is, right?
Well, I think I was more just surprised that the boys' game was so developed, because actually Reese Devilbus and I had this conversation after he committed to Ohio State, that verbally committed, that he's going to how is that program at Ohio State so good despite boys volleyball is not a varsity sport in Ohio. So I was not familiar with it at all coming here, other than being a girls' sport. And it's amazing that program has been so successful. Good things for Coach Matt Wilson at Northeastern and soon Reese Devilbus to go there, yet that team doesn't have any in-state talent to pick from.
Going to the alma mater of Coach Matt Wilson, too. That's pretty cool.
I just want to add a personal anecdote. For me, it's definitely rodeo. And needless to say, the story did not come out good. But I did interview a cowboy from Calgary, Alberta, and he had such a bushy mustache when he talked you couldn't see his mouth move. I love that.
That's cool.
I always, when it's a sport you don't understand or you don't know anything about, the best thing is to find somebody and make it a profile.
Absolutely. And then, and I'll struggle doing that sometimes with, a few times a year I get out, I'll cover some racing and that. And sometimes, that when I first did it was a challenge because I didn't understand a lot about it. Fortunately, I had people I could go to that helped a lot. And I know, every once in a while, I've covered when we have the Keystone or the senior games, we'll be out doing billiards or something really unusual or what was one, I forget what, horseshoes. Mm-hmm. That was a really unusual thing I covered. But, it depends on how you approach it too sometimes. And I guess I've been doing it long enough.
We mentioned this is our last show for the year. Christmas is a week away. What's on Steve Everly Matt Gould's Christmas list? What did you ask Santa for this year?
You know what? I typically, because I have kids, Christmas tends to become all about them. And I don't really, it was funny because we just this weekend, my wife and I were sitting having a beverage near the Christmas tree. And our daughter was out, talking about stuff and that. And I'm looking under the tree. Now, half of the stuff I know that my wife and kids got me, I was there. I said, do you need these? And it's been this way ever since we've had kids. Oh, do you need these? Yeah, okay, good. I'll wrap them up for you, and that. But we're sitting there, and I just saw a random box under the tree. And I went, there's a big box back there. And my wife went, you weren't supposed to see that. I'm like, wait a minute. Do I know what's in there? And she's like, no, you don't. It's like, you're kidding me. So I'm going to have a surprise on Christmas.
It's like you're 7 all over again.
Well, a little bit because, Christmas changes for you. So, again, for me, it's all about kind of the kids. So I never make up a list. Honestly, I'm at the socks and underwear part of the thing anymore. So, Matt, what about you?
I'm just looking forward to going home and seeing my friends and family. Just got a couple people in my life that are really important to me. So any chance I can get home and see them, that's all that matters to me. But funny story, you remember this. Last year, I bought one of those PlayStation 4s shortly after they came out, but I did not open it up to play it. I waited, had it wrapped up to open on Christmas Day, so I could feel like a 7-year-old again.
just an amazing sign of maturity.
That's pretty good, though, because I know he was jonesing for that for about, I think it was a decision of at least a month you were going over.
I kept it, it was funny, is I kept it in the corner next to ever since I was in high school, I think I had the PlayStation 1, the 2, and the 3. So I think it was PlayStation 3.
Yeah.
I had that sitting there on my TV. I had the PlayStation 4 box unopened for a month before Christmas, sitting next to my TV.
That took some discipline and
some self-control.
Of course, I'll give Matt all the credit in the world. I reap the rewards of him getting a PlayStation 4 because my son then got a PlayStation 3, Matt's old one. So.
All right, time to dim the lights for the quiz questions. Boys basketball first. William Penn has been in the league title game 14 times since 1996. How many of those have they won?
Since 96.
Mm-hmm.
They've won 3 under Sowers, I know, because I'm actually working a story on him.
I'm going to say 6.
8. We had them for 8 according to GameTimePA.
I figured if I got within 2, I'd be happy. So that was lucky.
Ruben and I did some fun research this week before Spring Grove William Penn boys basketball game, and we found that it's been a long time since Spring Grove beat William Penn. This is more of a guess than a quiz question, but can you guess the last time that happened?
Mike Adams was playing for them. That's going to be my guess.
I think it's before then.
Before then.
I think Daryl Wilderson,
which would have
the
been
West York girls coach, was coaching Spring Grove when it happened.
So let's see. I'm trying to remember when Mike Adams was playing in the NBA. 80. I'm going to guess 84.
I think it's been since then. I'm going to say 93.
2001, actually. It's been 26 straight games, but it dates back to 2001. Fun fact, who was coaching Spring Grove at the time? William Penn's coach now, Troy Sowers.
Troy Sowers.
Oh, my goodness. There's some irony. So
and Sowers, he coached the boys and the girls at Spring Grove. He kind of made his rounds.
Yeah.
7 teams have joined the York Adams League in basketball since Steve started covering it in '92. Can you name how many of those of the 7? How many of the 7 can you name?
Oh, I should be able to name all of them. Littlestown, DeLone Catholic, Bermudian Springs, Biglerville, Fairfield, New Oxford, and darn it, there is.
You're missing the gimme this year.
Gettysburg.
Yeah, the gimme this year.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a layup.
Yep. I missed the layup, but I hit all my free throws.
One boys basketball team this year already has more wins than it did last year. Who is it?
Kennerdale. Two wins.
Kennerdale.
Had none last year.
Kennerdale beat Bermudian twice, 2-0. Let's see. 5 girls basketball teams are still undefeated. How many of the 5 can you name?
Oh, that's easy, I think. Dallastown, New Oxford, West York,
both Catholics.
York Catholic, DeLone Catholic.
That's all 5 of them. There you go.
You guys are working as a team.
Yeah. This should be.
We do that from time to
this
time.
This could be a gimme for Steve. I went into the record books for York Adams swimming meets. 2 schools hold all of the records for boys size.
Wait. Now you're saying for meets as far as just like championships,
Mhm.
like
I bet I know this, too.
championships. I know it. So
Is it
Matt,
Dallastown and Suburban?
Dallastown and Suburban.
Correct.
Yeah.
Last one I got for you is the statistician one. I'll see if Gould can get this one. Right now in boys basketball, 2 teams have 2 guys in the top 15 for scoring. Who are they?
Hanover has one. Kyle Kraut and Dylan Krieger.
We didn't have Kraut in the top 15.
Oh, in the top 15.
Yeah.
Let's see. The top 15 would have to be. I'm trying to think how many points this would be then. I should know because I just typed it up last night.
We'll give you 1 Division 1 team, 1 Division 2 team.
1 Division 1 team, 1 Division 2 team. West York with Bailey and McCauley.
Nope.
Then it's probably Gettysburg.
Nope.
Jeez Louise.
Dover with Beck and Fink are in the top
Beck
15.
and Fink, okay. And then Division 1, is it William Penn with Wilson and Johnson?
They have 1. We got Spring Grove, Brooks and Gordon.
Oh,
Man, I was
Gordon.
swinging and missing on that one.
Yeah, well, it's going to happen. And the funny thing is, I mean, you just type those up, but, sometimes when you type that kind of stuff up, it
a lot of names and numbers.
stick.
Yeah.
Because it's so many names and numbers.
No problem. Great job, guys.
Defense
Thank you
wins
for
championships, so that's the thing to remember.
It's a way to finish it. We're going to head to break right now. You're listening to Game Day with Game Time PA here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
At Northwestern Mutual, we take a disciplined and balanced approach to financial planning. Together, we'll help build your financial future on time-tested principles, not market trends, so you can take advantage of life's opportunities. To learn more, contact me, Dan McGarry, at my office on a square in York. Look for the blue awnings. Who's helping you build your financial future? The Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Hey, sports fans, great news. Now you can listen to Sports Radio 1350 anywhere with the new WOYK mobile apps. Stranded in Siberia? No problem. Kidnapped by wolves? It's not as bad as you may think. Wherever you are, WOYK is with you on the brand new mobile apps. York's only local sports station just went mobile and global. Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
Under center with McNabb and Malone.
What's next for Ray McDonald, who was not only arrested for domestic abuse on his pregnant wife or fiance, but played this past Sunday?
The whole thing comes down to is the NFL and Roger Goodell. When you make the decision of suspending Ray Rice for 2 games, then you come back out to clean things up and say, hey, we're going to be stricter. We're going to come out and suspend guys 6 games, and then it's a 1-year ban. Well, why didn't you just do it in the first place?
Under center, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific on NBC Sports Radio.
The York College Spartans play here. Catch York College basketball all season on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. Your home for York's home teams.
And that's going to do it. The York College Spartans are 2014 CAC champions.
The spot for the Spartans. Sports Radio 1350 WOYK. First in York, first in sports.
The Safety Blitz.
You think the Rams are kicking themselves every day for the amount of money they gave Sam Bradford? You play quarterback in this league and you played at a pretty decent level, you're getting yourself a 9-figure contract.
How do you invest money long-term, big money into RG3? All these quarterbacks are getting basically $100 million, $50, $60 million guaranteed. How do you know if you want him as your long-term quarterback solution if he can't stay on the field?
The Safety Blitz, weekends on NBC Sports Radio.
You waited until the last minute to do your holiday shopping again? Well, it's never too late to thrill the Revolution fan in your life, or too early to start thinking baseball. The Apple Chevrolet ticket office at Santander Stadium will be open 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. this Saturday. Clear out one last space under that tree for a Revolution holiday pack, which includes 4 tickets, 4 food vouchers, and a 2015 Revolution wall calendar for just $59. Don't forget a Revolution gift card makes a great stocking stuffer or office gift.
Revolution! Hi, I'm Dover boys basketball coach Brian Schmoyer. You're listening to Sports Radio 1350 WOYK, first in York, first in sports.
GameDay with GameTimePA, and we're less one as Brandon Stoneberg has headed out to cover wrestling tonight. I can't throw to Matt because his mouth is full of cookies, thanks to one Andy Meese that Teddy brought in. So let's just go ahead. It's social media time, and Teddy, take it over.
I want to throw a shout out to a couple of colleagues, actually. Mike Rubin, writer in Hanover, said Daryl Henry's voice is like sweet butter. I don't know how to react to that, but I kind of agree.
Daryl didn't know how to react either.
No, but Daryl does have an awesome voice.
He has a great voice, and Mike obviously enjoys listening to it. We gave him a spot. Also, Chris Dunn, staff photographer, talked about Matt's hand modeling career. So
that's right, just like George Costanza.
Nice. I like that. I do. I like that.
I mean, you know, who's to say he doesn't have a future there?
Hey, can I jump in quick?
Of course.
I do have a cuticle issue, though.
Speaking of voices, can I throw out props to my voice therapist, Melissa?
You've been on fire today.
Down at GBMC. I'm kind of through the initial part of the program to the point where she said, okay, well, just, come back when you need it, and that she's taught me a lot of things on how to breathe, how to use my voice better and not strain it, and we're working better than we have in a long time.
Today,
you've been on fire.
Really,
yes. So Melissa, I know you're probably not listening, although you keep saying you want to listen, you want to load it on the web. Thanks so much. I owe you a lot.
No, we owe her a lot too, because your talking is our greatest asset on the program.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I'm actually able to, which is nice. So,
yeah.
Teddy, sorry I interrupted.
No worries. It's always fun to have a little freelance commentary. All right, let's get the ball rolling here. These are our Facebook comments, questions, concerns from fans, followers, and readers. And we got some from Eric Lamb last week. Obviously, the Dover football coach. He stepped away from the job after 2 years.
Wait, saying we got something from Eric?
No, we got some maybe I did say that, but specifically we got some commentary on the coach. Eric did not write into us.
Because he didn't call us back, so that's why I was shocked about that.
Michael Peck. He actually it's a two-pronged thing. The first thing he said is whoever comes to Dover should know 3 things. And I'm going to say the 3 things in order. Need a balanced attack. They've been a little too predictably run-heavy, he said, in years past. They need kids with good discipline. Repeated penalties were bad last year. And he said clock management will be critical. Obviously, some of these are just generic football points. You want that out of every football team. But do you think he's on the right track, particularly with the balanced offense? What do you guys think here?
I think the balance is one thing that they will need a little bit more of. And I was saying that to Steve, during the season, looking at what they do have coming back. They're going to have a talented running back in Duran Ledbetter. Their center, Matt Farr, will be back. Tyler Blazowski, hopefully he can recover from the leg injuries he had to deal with this year, will be back. Derek Brenneman is aiming to be back after that gruesome leg injury he had to his knee and to his ankle. A good linebacker for them that can play tight end and split end. So, they've got some pieces there that I think they can contend in Division II. And it'd be, I think, opening up a little bit because they won't have Levi Murphy up there. They won't have Tyler Jacobson, some of those big horses that they had up front to block for these guys for the last few years. So I'll be interested to see what they run scheme-wise next season.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that where they change, because a lot of times the offenses are the one thing that a coach wants to bring with them. And I think sometimes that is their selling point for the job. And
Sure.
You got to think that they're going to look, I don't know, to say they'll necessarily look intentionally different from what Coach Lamb did, but I think that'll be an interesting segment of how that job plays out.
I think Dover AD Rich Leathery was put in a tough spot with this too, because here they are, West York has an opening, Spring Grove has opening. Most schools that have openings already have posted them, and he had to post it now, and he had to extend his deadline to pass the new year to give people time to apply, and then you got the holidays and stuff like that. So you kind of wonder, like, oh man, where are they going to get candidate-wise? I think he's already gotten about half a dozen resumes so far.
Sure.
So I think it's an attractive job.
I do too.
Though, of course, the West York job's an attractive job. I heard through the grapevine that they got some out-of-state resumes.
I'm not surprised. I mean, but while attractive, would you want to be the guy trying to replace Ron Miller? I mean, just from a record standpoint, the record, 86 wins in 9 years, nobody's ever even come close to that. And I'm talking some great football coaches in this area. John Defoe, comes to mind because Berm's always really good in that. But 86 wins in 9 years to fill those shoes.
Keeping something going is a lot easier than building something.
Yeah,
I do. We're going to get to West York here in a minute, so hold that thought very quickly. There was one more thing that Mike Peck mentioned on Mr. Lamb, and he threw him a bone here. He said, obviously, best of luck to Coach Lamb, and he said he actually had a great year last year, particularly when considering the number of injuries at key positions. Can you guys comment on that? Do you agree?
You know what?
No question.
You know what? Coach Lamb never wanted to use that excuse.
Never complained.
Anytime I would bring it up, he almost refused to talk about it, not because he didn't want to talk about it per se, to like, oh, I don't want to deal with that stuff.
Don't even plant that seed.
He just didn't. He didn't want to use it as an excuse. And I thought that was, a tremendous way to approach it. It was commendable. And yeah, they were just hit. I can't think of a team I've seen around here that's been hit injuries by as bad as this Dover team. A Dover team that I thought was going to be right there with the Bulldogs this year. I mean, they had won the Division II title last year. They had most of the guys back from that team. But when one of your captains quits the team, you have one injury to your defensive end, who's probably one of the premier pass rushers in the league. I mean, coaches agreed with me on that they thought he was the best pass rusher in Division II. And then you have your other running back tear his ACL before the first game of the season. You're already, going. It's already an uphill battle.
And lost another captain for part of the season. I mean, every week somebody new went down.
I mentioned Tyler Blazowski, their quarterback, ended up, I think it was a broken femur. And then Derek Brenneman, we mentioned the gruesome injury at the end of the season.
It stayed all year, and honestly, I mean, I think he did a more than admirable job. I mean, really, and
that whole staff too.
I agree. Yeah, that's a great point. I'm glad you said that.
If I'm a coach coming into that situation, if it's not somebody who's already on staff that gets that job, I'm looking at that staff, and anybody who wants to come back, I would welcome with open arms, because of looking what they did this past season with all those injuries.
You mentioned, and this is no knock on former coach Bill Miller, who's been involved with that school district for so long, but you mentioned that is an attractive job now. I think Eric Lamb has to get some of the credit for making that an attractive job.
Great call.
I think Bill deserves just as much.
Absolutely.
Because that team that won the Division II title last year was the team that he was heading the ship when those kids really got into the weight room, really got to learn the game. So, I would give Coach Lamb a lot of credit. I would give Bill Miller just as much credit because he got the ball rolling with that program.
Yep.
Marty Keegy wrote, and this is more for comic relief than anything else, possible replacement for Lamb, former Dover football player, Green Bay Packer fullback John Kuhn. I don't know.
He's going to leave that $1 million plus. I don't know what John's salary is. It's a whole lot more than he would make coaching high school football plus 20.
That would be the hire of the year.
Well, yeah, obviously, but I think John will be pretty content to stay in Green Bay.
I remember when I was in high school and we had a new baseball coach coming to town, and it was advertised that Joe Charbonneau, former Rookie of the Year for the Cleveland Indians, was going to be our new baseball coach.
1 year wonder for the Cleveland Indians.
Yeah, well, he never showed up. He was allegedly hired, and he never showed up.
He was allegedly hired and never showed up. I mean, think about that. Well, neither did the rest of his career after his rookie year.
Yeah,
so you know, what's that tell you?
Definition of leaving him high and dry. All right, we got one more. Amy Day. You guys talked about the West York hire, so let's jump back into that. She mentioned a Russ Stoner. Your guys' thoughts really on the Stoner possibility or any Stoner, former Spring Grove coach, obviously.
Look, it makes sense that somebody's going to mention Russ's name. He went to West York. You know, he was a
children in West York,
children in the West York district.
Good football coach.
Good football coach. Plenty familiar with high school football and the workings, all those years, you know, as D coordinator at Central, almost every bit as much as, you know, his 4 years at Spring Grove. The problem there is not a problem with Russ. It's that I just think that the number of candidates for that job is just going to be through the roof.
And you know what? I think if you're a teacher in that district and you have some football knowledge and you've been on that staff or you're on that staff, I think you've got a leg up in that too.
Now, if somebody on that staff gets that job, do I want to bring Russ in as a coordinator? Well, I would like to see him as a D coordinator there.
That would be a great.
I mean, that would be. You know, now I don't know what the plans are, and Josh Fry, current D coordinator, if you're not planning on leaving, I'm not trying, or planning on taking a head coach's job, I'm not trying to push you out of a job by saying Russ would be a great hire for that. That is assuming Josh.
There's another great
job
candidate for that job. I mean, that's the thing, and that's a job that's going to attract not just assistants like him, but and people in the school. It's going to attract assistants throughout the district. I mean, we said coaches from outside the state are applying for it. It's going to attract head coaches from the area too. You know, I mean, that's an attractive job.
Here's the deal. Now let's go a step further. That could potentially attract. Remember, Ron Miller came out of small college coaching to take that job. Obviously, he did a really good job with it. So if somebody is, say, a line coach like Ron was at his alma mater, Susquehanna University, if somebody is at that level job and says, you know what, maybe I want to be a head coach, where do I want to do it?
Did Ron get his teaching job as soon as he came to West York, though? That's the question.
Yes.
See, that's the thing that I fear is differently this time around is the teaching climate is quite different.
It is. You know what, man? Yes, it is quite different.
I think they're going to get those applications. They're going to get somebody from, you know, outside the district, as they've gotten outside the state. But, you know, if they don't have a teaching job to offer, how, you know, is it going to really produce something?
And that would definitely be a challenge, different than when Ron took the job.
If they need a volunteer coach, I'd be happy to step up as a special teams coach. I have a little background there. That's a joke.
Yeah.
The field goals will be getting blocked.
You sound like the Browns special teams coach right now with the punt returns they've had issues with.
Good grief.
Mentioning the Browns. Oh, ouch.
It had to be done.
Yes, ouch, thanks.
Folks, we have one segment remaining. Come back and listen right here. You're listening to Game Day with GameTimePA here on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK.
Sports Radio 1350 WOYK honors the Shipley Energy Student Athlete of the Week.
This week's Shipley Energy Boys Student Athlete of the Week is Spring Grove point guard Eli Brooks. In his first 3 games of the season, Brooks scored 24 points, 20 points with 7 rebounds, followed by another 22-point performance to pace the Rockets out of the gates. This week's Shipley Energy Girls Student Athlete of the Week is Dallastown forward Amari Johnson. Johnson opened the season by claiming MVP honors at the Hemfield Tip-Off Tournament, scoring 18 points in the title game. She then enjoyed a huge game in a victory over Central, netting 19 points with 18 boards in a 55-50 win. Johnson is a University of Rhode Island commit.
Get your home ready for fall and winter and sign up for the Shipley Energy Protection Plan. For more information, visit shipleyenergy.com.
Want to learn to skate? Want to suit up and learn how to play some hockey? Come to the coolest place in town, York Ice Arena. Learn to skate programs are now available for all ages. For every skating ability, kids of all ages will learn how to feel comfortable on ice, how to stand, and perhaps most importantly, how to fall properly. Class levels range from beginner to freestyle, where you'll learn basic jumps, spins, and footwork. Classes are taught by York Ice Arena skating instructors from White Rose Figure Skating Club. No skates? No problem. Skate rental is included in your registration. Or get on the ice for our York Ice Arena hockey programs. York Ice Arena coaches will focus on teaching proper techniques needed for anyone interested in playing hockey. Rental equipment is available for beginning players, both boys and girls. So get on the ice. Learn to skate. Learn to play. Sign up now. Group skating lessons and beginners hockey programs are forming now. Plus, York City residents get a 50% discount. Register today. Go to yorkskate.com and click on program info. York Ice Arena, the coolest place in town.
Pretty soon your family will be itching to break out of the cabin you've been cooped up in all winter. Let the kids loose and get your caboose to Festive Ice, York's first winter ice festival, presented by York Traditions Bank on January 16th and 17th at Santander Stadium. Food trucks, music, laser tag giveaways, and guys chiseling Yetis out of ice with chainsaws. And there's more. As a bonus, tickets get you in both days and are only $3 for kids 12 and under, $6 for ages 13 and up, and free for tights 3 and under. FestiveIce.com.
The Central Panthers break the 40-year drought and win the York Adams League Boys Basketball Championship. Last February, Central defeated William Penn for the league title. Now the rematch. I'm Ron Ruman. Andy Bria and I will be there for the first meeting between the Panthers and Bearcats since the league championship. York High went on to win the district title last season, and both squads have high hopes again this year. Don't miss it. Central and William Penn, Friday at 7 on Sports Radio 1350 WOYK and GameTimePA.com.
Hi, I'm Red Lion Boys basketball coach Steve Schmale. You're listening to Sports Radio 1350 WOYK, first in York, first in sports.
And we are back to wrap up the final Game Day with GameTimePA edition for 2014. Before we forget, I guess let's throw some holiday greetings out, folks. If you're listening, obviously we hope you all are. Thank you for that, but most importantly, have a safe and happy holiday season and happy travels, and enjoy the time. It's what it's all about.
A Festivus for the rest of us.
Oh, I like that. Matt throws Festivus out there.
I am a hand model now.
That's true.
I can't even believe it. I echo those sentiments for sure. Everyone have a very safe, happy holiday. Enjoy the friends, enjoy the family. You know, have
Exactly.
a great time.
Matt, what did you learn today outside of the fact that you're now a hand model?
Oh, well, that was a pretty big thing to take in, Steve.
It's a monster revelation.
It is.
Well, I learned some things about, I don't know what I learned, really. I mean, I'm not that good of a student, I guess.
Don't sell yourself short there. So
I know what I learned. First time here, holiday season, Andy Mises cookies lived up to the billing. There's no doubt in my mind about that.
Ted, you've been hearing about these cookies for...
I think since the day I walked in the door.
But the last 2 weeks, a lot. Every time there was a discussion of baked goods came up, Andy Mises' family's cookies were part of it, and you got your first treat of them today. It's pretty epic.
Oh, I know what I learned. Apparently, Mike Rubin doesn't want to be spladled by anyone. Not Andy Meese, maybe not even his cookies.
You know what? I don't blame him.
I don't either. I support Mike there.
Yep. Avoid the spladle. So, let's see. I had a what did I learn, and it kind of escaped my brainwave there. So oh my goodness, that's terrible of me.
I learned your voice really is improving.
Yeah, it's been kind of a long haul with it, but as I'm able to do some things and it doesn't tire out as quick as it did. I mean, my goodness, you think about the first few shows we did, and I just think of the one promo I did with Daryl, and now, when I hear it, I think I have to beg Daryl Henry, please let me do another one for 2015. It'll sound a lot better. So, I might have to work on them to do that. But, it's been a great run. It's been a real, interesting few months of doing this, and really, we hope people are enjoying it. I do get people will say, hey, I caught the last half hour.
I've enjoyed it.
And I think that's where radio's a little bit different than some of the other things that we do, and it's, here's your, you only maybe listen for half an hour.
Yeah.
Or maybe only 20 minutes. Sometimes at the beginning,
Agreed.
sometimes it's at the end. So, it's not like, a dedicated reader, if you would.
2 hours is a long time to sit and listen to the entire block. I mean, you would have to be
unless you're driving for 2 hours.
100%.
Typically, I'm a huge fan of sports talk shows, as Daryl and I were talking about before we came on the air today. I love the Dan Patrick Show, and that I like the Steve Zabin Show before that. But even though Dan Patrick, you can put him on TV, on DirecTV, and have it going on in the background. Even I have trouble with 2 hours of it, as much as I love that show. So, it's definitely a challenge.
New name for the show, the Steve Navaroli Hour.
No, that would just be really ridiculous, because I won't be here every show in January.
Well, you'll be here for at least an hour, probably, right?
Some weeks I won't even be here at all.
I'm about to do the Home Alone.
Then it's going to be
look
the
right now.
Then it's going to be the Matt Gould Show. Oh gosh, that would have been a great thing. I hope if you're able to watch that on GameTimePA. Matt doing Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah, absolutely. We have the live stream up, and we have the cookies here. And I thought, you know what? It's been a great 3 months, 4 months. It's been fun.
No, it really has, and but credit to Brandon. A lot of what he's added to the show. I knew Matt and I could make conversation about sports. We do it all the time anyhow. Mm-hmm. But what Brandon has added, and Mike did a great job with it too, but what Brandon added with his questions, and he takes time to think of those things.
I do want to say also, just Mike's idea originally.
It was, yes.
No question.
Yes. Yeah, all credit to Ruben for that. I mean, he thought of the idea and kind of came up with it, and
I guess you could say
taking it from there.
Mike passed it off to Brandon like Will McQueen would to Dylan Krieger.
Okay, there
Ben
you
Wallace.
go. I like that. So with that, folks, happy holidays, enjoy, and we will catch you back in 2015.
First in York, first in sports. Your only local sports station. The new Sports Radio 1350, WOYK, York, Pennsylvania.